Everybody, Peter of England here outside a ruin. The theme today of this short video is a representation of the global economy, the world economy, and the financial institutions that are supposedly there to provide a safety net for you and everyone else that's been involved in the pandemic and everything that's happened as a result of that since February, March of 2020. I had to come and see it for myself, and so this video is being shot in Italy, of all places. There's been many talks in the media, there's been many newsreels shown, there's been many indications of what's been happening in Italy. So I thought eventually I'd make my way here and assess for myself the degree of panic and the degree of fear, frustration, and get first-hand reports of, shall we say, the body count. So from what we can see, from what I have had revealed to me today, the Italians are walking around mainly in the open places. There is no public necessity to wear a mask. Most are pretty casual about it. I've seen more touching and more shaking hands and more kisses being exchanged here than in a lot of places, especially in the UK and in France. So that leads me to believe that the people haven't fallen for it entirely, hook, line and sinker. And as I say, though the New World Agenda would have everybody believe that the state of human relations is like this building behind me with the chimney, in a state of abject ruination, from what I can see, the spirit of human kindness and the human touch is still very much alive in Italy, so well done to those people. The big question to be addressed, especially to those people in the UK who are now just about facing the prospect of another lockdown, is the big question should be to you, Dominic Raab, and to you, Boris Johnson, and to you, Dr. Ferguson, the liar of all liars and the fabricant of all false extrapolations of supposedly projection data to support lockdowns. Where are the bodies? Simple question. Who knows anyone? Who knows anyone that has actually passed away, should we say, gone into transition due to the unnameable? And the reason I'm not naming it is just in the hope that within 48 to 72 hours this video is still on YouTube, because I have every expectation of it being taken down. So the theme that I'd like to cover is not only the situation that's presenting itself to everybody now worldwide, possibly with the idea that the northeast in the UK, London, and maybe nationally is going to be subject to a further lockdown come end of October. I think there should be more of a campaign for a public dissension, or at least an investigation to verify a lot of the statistics and figures that the medical mafia are throwing out there at you. So it's becoming patently clear now that the cure that they're offering is worse than the actual disease itself, would you not say? When it gets to that situation, people have got to start asking themselves, is there a political motive? Is there another agenda that's predicating all the actions in the background, or is it something that really is justified? And I would suggest to you that there is nothing justifiable about the actions that the UK government is taking at this stage. Now, also ask yourself the following. In March, first we were told to wear masks. Then we were told social distancing would be the cure. So with masks, if that's effective, then there's no need for social distancing. If social distancing is the cure, then there's no need for the mask. If the mask and social distancing is a double cure, then how come now, just as predicted, as I predicted in my previous videos, and as they've been telling you all along, how come now the second wave inevitably arrives. They've been telling you all along that this second wave would arrive, and sure enough, it has. And do you know why? Because it was a planned second wave. There can't really be a second wave because there hasn't been a first wave. So this is something that you should all be taking into account. You should be asking yourselves, you should be questioning. But the biggest question should therefore be, how much more of this are we all going to take? It's death by 1,000 cuts. It's like a water drip. It's like a fish swimming into a trap. The greatest work that the so-called control agenda, the control agenda of tyranny, manifested upon the world was done in March. That's where all the work was achieved. That's where the compliance came in, and from that point on, they're just fighting a maintenance operation. I see the demonstrations in Berlin. I see the demonstrations in London. I see them in France. I see some of them in Italy, but not so many. You have a thin line of the world's finest police, all dressed as military these days in contravention directly of the various Geneva Conventions. And they are managing to stop thousands, if not in the case of Berlin, nearly probably 2 million people from achieving their objective. So the 5th of November will soon be arriving for the United Kingdom. That is a day of quite considerable historical importance, as just over 400 years ago, a very righteous individual tried to do to the not then 650, but what should possibly be done to the 650 jackals that infest Westminster Parliament. He came down there with an effort to try and remove them. So what I would suggest is, why not get together for a march on Westminster Parliament on the 5th of November? And if they want you in masks, then why not give them a mask? Give them a mask in the form of a V for Vendetta mask. And for those of you out there who would like to get an idea of what I mean, please go and have a look at the film V for Vendetta. Go and have a look on YouTube, look for the closing scenes, and you will see that that is possibly one of the most effective messages that you could deliver to Parliament. And if my good old friend Nigel Farage out there is watching my video, as I'm sure he does from time to time, thanks for the invite down to Brussels Parliament in 2012, I think it was, Nigel. We haven't been in touch as much as we should have been for the last few years. But if you're interested in getting together and putting something together whereby we can give them a 5th of November that will never ever be forgotten, then why not let us communicate with each other, maybe post to me on my email, which you still have, and we will give them that 5th of November that will never ever be forgotten. So just to conclude, I think most people out there are possibly asking themselves if this is some type of conspiracy, if this is an agenda, what is the agenda about? Well, the agenda is unfortunately about the 4th of November 2020 United States presidential election result. I think the election is on the 3rd. The results should be in by the 4th, and that is the day that Corona dies. I term it that because either Biden will get into the White House, which will be a miracle if it's left to normal voting procedures, and if the probably normal course of statistical events and voting rights are not totally abandoned into a postal vote, where the Democratic Party will then just rig the election as they see fit, then Donald Trump is projected to have an overwhelming majority in return for another 4-year stint in the White House. However, that's a big problem. And the problem is, for those people who like to go into the nitty-gritty and the details on these things, go and have a look at the website called Defense One. That's spelt, I think, as the Americans spell defense, with the number, the spelling of one.com. And you will see that there are letters posted on that website, which is an official correspondence arm for the United States military, that are projecting that Donald Trump will secure an overwhelming majority, one way or the other, let's say. However, that's not such good news for everyone else, because what they're saying then is that they are not prepared to allow Donald Trump, for whatever reason, to remain in the White House, and they're already speaking of treason and sedition on their own behalf by forcibly ejecting Donald Trump from the White House on the 19th of January 2021 if he refuses to leave the White House. Now, can you imagine what consequences are going to come out from that? And can you imagine what consequences are in store when the United States military are talking about these things openly now and getting full support from, should we say, major players within the Democratic Party? Hillary Clinton has said that Joe Biden should not concede the election no matter what the result. So with the impasse that will come about following the election declaration, that even if Joe Biden does lose, he's not to concede, and therefore we would then have weeks, if not months, of arbitration, talking about back and forth who's won which state and who's lost which state. It'll never be resolved, and therefore the impasse that would be promoted would mean that Donald Trump could possibly justify staying. However, the beating of the war drums from not only the Democratic Party but Antifa and Black Lives Matter and all the other Planned Parenthood groups would be banging this drum to ensure that he left. And as you can see on the streets of the United States now, even at a time of non-contentious activity, the United States looks like a war zone. So can you imagine for a moment what that is going to mean to the people of America, and therefore by proxy the rest of the world, when there is, shall we say, an open and already purported plan to remove him? So on the basis of that, most people should be intrinsically worried, intrinsically concerned for your health and for your safety. Where it's all going to go to after that, I don't know. But unless there is a force majeure, unless there is an act of God, unless there is some type of intervention between now and the 4th of November to arrest those people who are openly calling for treasonous and seditious activities to be perpetrated on the still legal incumbent within the White House, then we are going to be in for more and more of the same. The French newspapers are saying at the moment, or the French magazines are saying, and parading Bill Gates as a savior of the world, saying, good old Bill, for 10 billion, according to Bill Gates, the whole world could be immunized. There are vaccines available and they're going to be made available, and it's only a 10 billion cost to the global coffers. So these are things that should be concerning all of us. These are things that will ultimately begin to affect you. And if we don't do something about it, then I think not only are the 5G towers going to be switched on and made operational, not only is Elon Musk's 5G satellite chain necklaces that are dangling above you in the sky going to be turned on. That could be one of the things that would be a harbinger of not so good activity, not so health-giving properties. When these 5G machines are activated, we could then actually see the Nightingale hospitals fill up as they possibly have always planned. Can it be stopped? Will it be stopped? In part, it's down to you, but what I would say is that we should have more aspects of creative dissent. We should have more non-compliance. And so for all of those who saw the previous video of mine on this channel, which actually said just say no, do not comply and wear a mask, do not comply with this rule of 6, in effect just tell them to go and fuck themselves by not complying. This is the ruination of the country. This is the ruination of the world economy. This is what it looks like behind me. It is never going to recover. It is never going to be the same again. They're going to slow drip this down to ruin. And they're doing it because of an agenda. And that agenda is a tyrannous police state, one world order, where you do as you're told. So with the masks, I would say no. Pay any mask fine that Dominic Raab tries to throw at you. Up to now, what are they saying? $10,000 for pounds for not putting a mask on your face. I know what I'd tell them. But you've got to start doing it, and you've got to start doing it in a meaningful way. In my next video, or along with this one, I'm going to be putting a contact number. And so if we can do something together, not only you, Nigel, but anyone out there is interested to bring some type of, shall we say, creative dissent action onto the streets of the United Kingdom, then get in touch with me and we'll see what we can do. So I hope this has given you some information additionally to guide you and give you some idea of what other people are also thinking. The people in Italy, the people in France, the people in Holland, the people in Germany, none of these people are being shown demonstrating much on popular news, on mainstream media, but it is going on. Everybody knows it's a crock, but most people don't seem to know how to progress it from anything other than a demonstration on the streets. But this is what I've always said: if you go home at 5 o'clock on the day of the demonstration, they've already won. You've lost. There was no point even turning up in the first place. So let's try and put something together. Let's put a program together where we can actually start to make meaningful demonstrations become meaningful realities. And so subscribe, like the video, the usual thing, pass it on to your friends, and let's hope this video still is on after 48 to 72 hours. And if not, download it. Well, as you're watching it now, please download it and circulate it and be ready for the next video. Peter of England saying thank you very much.